Recording in progress.
Thank you very much. So we'll start with the statement. This meeting is being recorded and with the sister record keeping perhaps to be broadcast later date. If you're unhappy with this, please leave the meeting now. Fine. Are we ready to start then? Fine. Thank you very much. So welcome to all of you today, and it's a lovely weather. So we'll go through the apologies for absence. Councillor Rhys Hughes, Councillor Hugh Jones. Fine. Is anybody else apologising? No, thank you very much. So anyone declaring an interest? Councillor John Pugh Roberts' hand is up. Fine. We can't hear you. Number 3, Mr. Chairman, with the SMS. Fine, thank you very much. Minutes. Going to propose that these are correct. Does anybody agree? You show, please. I can't see anybody on the screen. Oh, John is seconding. Okay. Does everybody agree? Okay. Brian.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay, fine, thank you. Elwin. So, Elwin, is it possible to have John, not quite sure what John was declaring interest on. The third application. I'm finishing with SMS. Thank you very much. So forum for proposing the second. Fine, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to briefly, we have a duty to re-elect the members of the forum every 3 months, and the last period finished in March. So we're ready to start in next June with the new people. And we have had your subcommittee, the authority has chosen the names, and we looked through all the applications and the names are in the papers. This happened in April with Tim Jones, and we've been walked through. So it's a matter of just considering who they've chosen, and if you have anything else to say. So the balance here, we have half of the members in a way are landowners and half are users, and there's one from the disability sector, and in the north we hope that that person from Gwynedd Conwy, there's one member from Conwy will come forward through the Conwy Cabinet, and we hope that will be on the landowner side too. So I hope that'll be all right. But there's a way to adopt people under the Act. We have come to you before. If we're short of a specialist from some sector, then access to water or whatever it is, it's easier for us to come to you with a short paper next time if we need to have someone else in. So I'll just show what Conwy has done. And these are the members who have been recommended in a way for the North. Fine, Edgar. I approve the names. Is there a seconder? Fine. Everybody agree? Can you show? Fine. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. We'll go on then to the applications. Richard, yes. Richard Thomas. Can you hear me?
Yes, Chairman. I'm just trying to set
Yes. Fine, Richard.
Sorry, first time I've done it in class on a book. It's different than doing it at home.
I've tried that.
Oh, here we go. Apologies. Here we go. Morning, everybody. This is an application. Well, I'm sorry. Application for the construction of a new station building in Beddgelert, which will include the ticket office, cafe, indoor and outdoor seating, toilets, office, and a covered waiting area and other associated infrastructure. We're just running through where it is. It's the red square in the middle there. Am I gonna? Yes. The middle, the road through from Porthmadog through to Beddgelert is this one running around here. This is the Goat Hotel and Oberon Wood, and the centre of Beddgelert is around about here. The railway runs generally north-south in that direction there. So next slide. Just go back, give you a little bit of a history. 2005, 2006, permission was granted for a station building. They did start, and what you can see on this screen is a concrete base where they started the building, but that's as far as they got. So the current, or the 2006 permission is still extant, and they could go through to finish building it. I'll just run through some, these temporary timber buildings are there to provide refreshments and tickets. And there is also you can see that the concrete foundation is quite extensive, if you can see through the fog. The picket fence shouldn't, it's just, I think, corral people so they don't fall off. And then there is also a temporary toilet building here as well. So we've got 4 temporary buildings here and the concrete foundations, which serves the members of the public at the moment. And I'll just run through some more photos. I mean, in the background as well, you can see the dwellings at Oberon Wood. So just some general views looking south towards Oberon Wood and the collection of temporary buildings. So as I say, they could go through and build the existing permission, but they decided to redesign the building to be bring it up to date to modern standards and to hopefully gain some sustainability elements as well. Policies. I mean, all policies of the local plan, but generally it does fit in with all these policies of historic environment. It is within the Beddgelert conservation area, so that has to be taken into consideration. Sustainable design, they are including photovoltaics on the roof, and it's there to provide facilities for tourism and accessibility, all access for ability for all ability persons. I'll just so the bottom picture there is what has got permission and could be built through. It's a very much more traditional railway. It's rendered with brick coins, slate roof, and that would fit onto the concrete slab. The top one is what they're applying for now, and what they've done effectively is change the ridge line from an east-west orientation to so that the face of the ridge is south, so they can take more advantageous benefits from solar gain and photovoltaics. There is an area in the middle of quite extensive photovoltaics, and then photovoltaics on the south-facing face of the building. The scale of the building is identical. It will fit onto the concrete slab as built, and it is actually slightly lower. The ridge is actually slightly lower, but when I say slightly, it is only 10 centimeters. It's timber clad as opposed to rendered and brick coins. So I'll just move on to next slide. As you can see, if we take a look at the top right-hand corner, that's the one facing onto Oberon Wood with photovoltaics, whereas previously it was a ridge. So that's what they're trying to take advantage of in switching the ridge lines. Interior, this is what has got permission and could be built. It shows in the middle, large public area. Just going back to the 2006 permission, it was a permission or a committee decision where committee at the time did restrict by condition that there would be no cafe and the retail sales would be restricted to railway paraphernalia and related items. There's toilets, there's a reception area, waiting area, and small office area. Subsequent to getting permission, the Highland Railway did actually appeal against that decision or the condition to restrict no cafe and retail sales, which they were successful at. So they can build this up and have all that area for cafe and retail. So the use is identical now to what has been given permission in the past. So really what we're looking at is the design and the sustainable credentials of the new build and the materials used. There are objections from I'll just run through. This is what's the layout of the new build. So the retail and cafe on the left, and then all the servicing and toilets on the right. So, and then there's outdoor seating on the right and a covered seating area and waiting area facing onto the railway line. So again, identical use, but probably a bit better layout and more sustainable and better for less able persons. Moving on. I'm satisfied with the design. It does help bring it up to modern day sort of feelings about materials, and I'm quite content that it does protect the conservation area, and getting rid of all those temporary buildings will in fact enhance. It has got sustainable credentials, so the conclusions I've drawn is that it's probably a little bit better than the previous design, which is more traditional railway. So the recommendation is to grant permission, start within 5 years, usual ones, removal of PD rights. Condition 5, that means of access one, there is a track that leads through from Oberon Woods, which obviously the residents of Oberon Woods are concerned about construction traffic coming through there. So there was a condition previously to restrict or no access through Oberon Wood at all. I've recommended that here as well. What wasn't there in the previous one was securing biodiversity. Unfortunately, the railway company did remove some oak trees that were protected. Now we can, through this permission, if members are mindful to approve, we can now put this securing biodiversity condition on to plant some more trees back between the building and Oberon Wood, which will help with views across and any fears of smells or noise coming from the cafe and the customers. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to secure that with the with the company, and also a scheme of external lighting to ensure that there's no drift of lighting towards Oberon Wood and protect our dark skies reserve. So the recommendation is to grant the current building design.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr.
Fine, thank you very much.
Oh,
Iawn, diolch.
Fine, thank you. Can I say at the start, there's quite a lot of opposition to this. Just to be transparent, I personally have been lobbied by people. Just state that at the first. So start now. Who's first? Jill? Thank you, Chair. There's a huge concern locally about this application. 27 letters have come in. I've only seen one. This is a lot for a small village, 300 people. The 3 villages were 27. Perhaps this is a lot of people with a concern, and it is a concern. What starts with this application, nobody opposes having something there. Everybody accepts that, and it's had permission, and we understand it's one on appeal, and have the shop as well. That's not a problem at all. But this that's in front of us is totally different design to what was one on appeal. And think what's appeal? Says here there's better experience for visitors in the papers. Fine. I want to think that they have a very good experience. That's important. But we also want a good experience for local people too. And if you won't ask for Richard to go back to the church, then if you look at the design and looking down at the houses, originally, this was what is in front of them. This was what they saw. A building like this, that you see, the design now is like this. You can't see anything. That's what they'll see. That's what they'll be seeing. And on top of that, there are solar panels, and it looks very urban. That's one of the major oppositions. Originally, the toilets were on the other side, a long way. The toilets now are on the house side of the houses, and the vents. And remember, they come blown straight out towards the houses. And remember that houses are a bit lower down, so this is where the air will go. Solar panels. This is concern. We have to be careful these days. And I'm quoting now what's been said to me when I'm walking around Beth Gellert. I have been attacked. It hasn't been adopted by us in this committee yet, this authority. It's a conservation area for Beth Gellert. And people say, I've been attacked by putting up solar panels. You have to remember that people are being attacked. The park reports, but it's in. So people say that you can have solar panels in a conservation area. I don't agree with that. Well, big windows. Well, that we want these days. Well, the original ones were small in the station. These are big windows. And Mr. Stein, you can see the extension they wanted of their house. It doesn't give an impression of a small train, because we still call this a small train, not a big train. It's a small train, a social for people. And the letters, if it's a cafe or a restaurant, in the original application, there was place for people to sit and had a nice view looking out. You count how many seats or covers, as they call in the food industries, in the applications before us today, and without the tables, yes, 48 outside, 80 covers, 80 seats there. And makes you think that's a lot. It's a small train for Steniog, and they do particularly great work, good work, and I have great respect for them, but they're being greedy here. Bangor Station is the main station for Northwest Wales of 2 counties. I counted how many seats in the cafe there, and little ones. 16 seats in Bangor Station and 80 here. Yes, I agree that Bangor Station, there are 3 seats to sit outside everybody. So it gives you the impression here. The small Bangor Station, you're there to catch a train, and away you go. You get a cup of tea before you go. This isn't the application here. This is the application here to sit down by a table, go back to the meetings. I can't remember the dates, and when the public meetings in Bethgelert years ago, and they're furiously against the train. We will say, well, okay, I was there, open mind, see what's open, see, and what the train had to offer. What had to offer that a train would bring business into Bethgelert. We will come from the train and go down into the village to buy resources or whatever they wanted. Doesn't look like that now. Yes, 80 seats. What worries me here, yes, and I consider this seriously. I'm worried that this scheme, as it stands here, a modern building with big windows, good experience for visitors, is going to attract people in there, not people who come on the train. They don't, whatever they want to buy, drink or something. Perhaps you can buy cups of tea. They're just coming from Bethgelert. Yes, Bethgelert, Caernarfon, or Port. Port is a big place to get cups of tea. There, Caernarfon is a very big town. Do we really need this in Bethgelert? Yes. And it's going to bring people in. And what we have here, last year someone said to me locally, well, I'm going to Tannerbulch. What, the Place? I said, no, the station. What, catch a train? No, I'm going to the station at Tannerbulch. It's a good place to have a cup of tea and a cake. Great. And this station, Tannerbulch station, people go there. And my concern is that this is going to happen here in Bethgelert. If that happens and people go there, it's expensive to go on the little train. And when you ask people where they visitors where they go on the train, only to the part, Tannerbulch, or not far, because it's too expensive. It's too expensive, and the children just go a little space and then back. And that's what worries me. People come to Bethgelert, they sit down, see the trains, and don't spend any money in the village. Everyone is very happy to buy a ticket there. That's no problem. If the train is full anyway, what's the point having a ticket office anyway? So going on now, if the train runs, usually, if I remember from the top of my head, correct me if I'm wrong, the 25th of March until the 20th of October, 6 months the train runs. Perhaps it's more, I don't know. But a lot of this people, local people, facing this every season, and whereas the train only runs from 6 months. If it does, I see that shows that there's a store. What sort of store is it for people in Bethgelert? Then we need to know more. So this platform, nice and warm. People won't go in there just for a cup of tea, will they? So access then. Yes, this little track. Where it's a little track going up through Oberon Wood and then turns straight, turns right and goes up. You can see the waste on the side of the track from the plans. So are the waste plans going to be emptied by the train, or are they going to be emptied by lorries coming to empty them? And there'll be a lot of waste. We need to know more. If lorries are going to come up and up the track, there won't be much track left. And remember that this is private stuff that's worried about the sewage they have. They're concerned about the water and the food then. Perhaps people come there and they're on the boards. They don't want a little cup of tea in your hand. They want food. Well, where are these resources going to come? Are they going to come on the train? Or are they coming with companies, the companies who do this sort of thing, not on the train? You get resources, goods in, to keep the cafe. These arrive at the right temperature on the boat. So there might be ice cream at the right temperature. Are they going to come on the train in a casket? Or possibly they will, I don't know. But again, we need to know this, how this is going to happen. Are they going to come in that way or not? So lights, there have been complaints over the years that the red lights are on all throughout the year. Even though the trains don't run for 6 months, the lights are on all the year. This goes against the light dark skies, and the people who live there have to see these red lights. So where will these be in the new building? What sort of lights will they have? So the solar panels. So for me, I recommend refusing on the design. It's too modern and different, and it's not what the community expected. And the great concern that far more people will go and visit there. So thank you very much. Fine, thank you very much, June. There's a proposal, a smart proposal. Do you want to second to this? That's what's usual. Anybody seconding?
Does anybody second that? Thank you very much. Eva, is your hand up? Okay. Thank you. With every application, we have to work within the constraints of policies, and I'd like an explanation on the solar panel policy in a conservation area, please. Thank you. So every application is decided on its own merits. There's not one policy that states yes or no. the policy is that any application should protect and improve the character of the conservation area. So the conclusion here is that it doesn't have a detrimental effect, and that it's positive and coincides with policy. But if the committee comes to a different conclusion, that's up to you. Is there any detail on number 7, the recommendation? One of the obvious things is lighting and how it will affect the status. What type of lighting is going to be installed? Are they LEDs?
That is a condition of, if you do go for approval, it will be something that we get in at a later stage, and we'll be able to. Sorry, I've got a terrible echo. It'll be something that we consult with our Dark Skies Reserve officer. It'll be LEDs and PIRs. It'll be something that we have experience of other buildings, so that they do fit in with the policies.
Yeah, so they only come on when the CD in the vicinity of the place. No.
That will be the aim of it, yes. I mean, that'll be what we'll be achieving, I hope. And all downlighters, no uplighters, and protect Oberon Wood as well.
Going back to the biodiversity aspect.
Yes.
In the proposal. Is it possible to increase the amount of habitat corridors, as in planting more hedges rather than fences?
It won't be fences, it will be habitats. And one of the aims that I would want to see is that we replace the oak trees that they did take down, and we can put in 25 new oak trees between the building and Oberon Wood, as well as hedging. And again, we'll be doing that through our tree officer as well, as the best species and locations to put them.
The planting scheme, the landscape scheme, will come as part of reserve matters again?
Yes.
Just to be clear, it's discharge of condition rather than reserve matters, isn't it?
It's not reserve matters, it is a condition, yes.
They will have to present or submit some information about biodiversity and regarding the lighting in relation to condition 8 or whichever it was, and we'll have to assess them against the policies of the plan. They have to coincide with dark skies, improved biodiversity, and if we are satisfied, then we can permit.
I mean, that's what I see as the advantages. I fully appreciate what Councillor Jones has mentioned, but this is the advantages of this permission, is that we can put these additional conditions on now. They do have a fallback position where we won't get a biodiversity scheme, we won't get a lighting scheme.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr, Naomi.
Okay, thank you, Naomi. Before then, actually, Brian put his hand up. Brian first then. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. In my opinion, the scheme at the moment is an overall improvement to the previous one in terms of design, but I do have some concerns. My initial concern was over the size of the cafe and compared with the previous application and the modification that came through afterwards. And therefore, I'm wondering whether, in fact, whether the judgment that the application effectively is the same in terms of its basic facilities, because the cafe is substantially bigger than the previous one, which was much more incidental to the railway than the current one. which does lead to the question is this a destination or is it there to support the community? My inclination is to say we should be supporting the development of the railway as part of our overall sustainable tourism offer as an alternative way of getting into the heart of the national park, and in which case that should be incidental to it rather than a tourist destination and an experience just in its own sense. And the current application seems to be more towards the latter than the former. So I question the size of the cafe. I also question the cafe in relation to the amount of outdoor seating as opposed to the previous one, which was indoor seating. And the outdoor seating will increase the level of noise in what is, to an extent, a residential area, which is of concern to me. The other relation to noise, which is concerned with the design as it stands at the moment, and that is the air source heat pumps, which are aimed directly at a neighbouring property. Personally, living next door to a house has an external air source heat pump fan, which points away from the property. You do still hear it, and you hear it more in the garden than you do in the house. And if it's going to be operating in the summer, which they do, and I would imagine in a building like that, it probably would do if it's anything associated with heating water or keeping the loos at the right temperature or whatever. It does have the potential to affect the quiet enjoyment of somebody's residential outdoor space. And therefore, if they were positioned somewhere where that wasn't going to happen, that would be preferable. Relating to the solar PV, my own view, even in conservation areas, we should approve them if at all possible, because that's the direction of travel that we've got to go in. One concern I do have with this is reflection. And if that facing the residential properties, not the ones on the flat area, not the further away from the residential areas, but the one on the base that faces the residential area, has got a potential for reflection. That again is something that would concern me for the residents that are adjacent to that site. And I know again from my experience in our valley, with some panels which are nothing to do with a residential development. As you drive up the valley, the reflection off those panels at certain times of the day is quite significant. So I don't know what the situation is with those. And the height, it is slightly lower, but not a lot. And certainly the nearer end to the, if it was reduced, it would be preferable. But to me, that's minor compared with the other points that I've made. I think if they could be satisfied, I would be much more happy to approve it, because I think it's an overall improvement on environmental grounds and design from the previous one.
But just pick up on one aspect there, the reflective photovoltaics. And it is something that maybe I should have put in here. We do want other ones. You can get non-reflective photovoltaics now. And rather than the aluminium bright surrounds, you can get dark, non-reflective surrounds.
It's the glass panel I was meaning rather than the surrounds.
Yes, the panel itself, you can get non-reflective, and maybe that is a condition that we could put on this if you are mindful to approve.
Thank you.
Jan de Groot.
Okay, thank you. Naomi? Thanks, Chair. I've received an email from people in relation to this. Can I just ask a question based on that they're asking?
They're concerned about the access for retail and the cafe. Although condition 6 restricts construction vehicles, it doesn't, according to them, restrict commercial vehicles, and they're concerned wagons to access to service the cafe and retail operations on an ongoing basis once building has finished. Could you clarify that?
I have had a statement from the railway company who says that no construction traffic will be taken through Oberon Wood, full stop. They're not quite sure, but a lot will arrive by train, but a lot will also arrive by lorry and be craned in from the National Park car park. There will be large steels and that sort of thing, which won't obviously fit onto the small trains. But as I understand it, they do have a right of access through that Oberon Wood and the track to gain access to the railway siding. So we wouldn't be able to condition to say no access through there. So it's not something that I can take into consideration once the building is up and running, unfortunately.
Sorry, Richard, as I understood it, the question related to post-construction,
yes,
and the use for.
They have a right of access through that track and Oberon Wood for whatever purpose. So post-construction, they would be able to utilize that track as they do now. I have no idea how they use it now, whether they do or not, but they do have a right of access through there, which through the Planning Act, we wouldn't be able to override.
Sorry, just a quick follow-up question to you. That does mean, however, that the implications are for the increased size of the cafe, that there would be increased traffic on there because we cannot condition for that on the application. So it is an impact that we cannot mitigate through conditions if the size of the cafe is larger, and therefore there will be more requirements. Is that correct?
I can't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Naomi? Okay, diolch yn iawn.
Okay, Naomi, thank you. Does anybody else want to speak? I can't see any hands up on screen. All I can see now is Naomi's screen.
Yeah.
Just cyn I chi fynd I unrhyw bleidlais ar hwn.
Chair, before you go to the vote on this one, just so that I'm clear on June's proposal to refuse, you raised quite a lot of issues there, and I've tried to summarize them. Specifically, the design, we can go into detail on that after decision. Local people's amenities, including noise, smells, the reflection of the solar panels. Were those the main reasons? You also mentioned the effect on the dark sky status. If something went by, because sheep are always, and cows actually, roam on the railway throughout the night. I've also noted transport. Yes, the access, once again. If traffic would, if the eating places would increase greatly, there will be an issue, and they have to have more signs in there as well. So there are 4 main reasons there. Am I right? I just need to make sure that the wording is correct. Okay, if nobody else wants to say anything, I can't see any other hands up.
Can I clarify with Jonathan whether you were including within that the noise from the air source heat pumps?
Yeah, I've included
and the reduction in the size of the cafe without outdoor seating.
Dwi ddim wedi cynnwys hynna.
I haven't included that. I will add that as well, if June is happy with that. Are we ready to go to the vote then? Everybody in favour of June's proposal to refuse? It's been seconded by Meryl. Can we have a show of hands, please?
Pawb yn erbyn?
Against the proposal?
Dyma Tracy, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mae dy gario felly 8 i 5.
Motion carried 8 to 5. Okay, thank you. Moving on to the next application. Before we move on to the second application, we have some technical issues here in Plas, and we'll have to have a brief break so that Rob can resolve the issue. Because we can't show you any slides at the moment. Okay, so a break for 10 minutes or so. Do you want us to rejoin? No, stay on if you would, please. Or just mute everything. Remember to mute your mics, please, in the meantime. Break of 10 minutes then. Thank you.
Elwyn, mae pawb barod i ddechrau nôl y fama.
Iawn, oce.
Gweithio yma.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Reit, awn ni ymlaen felly i
Right, thank you very much. So let's go on to Aberdyfi. Yeah. Sophie Berry, who's dealing with this, please. Yes, just before we start, can I just introduce the case officer in this case? I know that most of you, Sophie Berry, has been with us filling in one or two gaps in the staffing stroke here. She is a planning consultant across Prospero. We've used Prospero, as you know, for quite a while. So she will be dealing with the application. Can I also make one minor correction on page 28? In the third sentence of the last paragraph on page 28, it should say that the status, the state has been, it doesn't say that here. It says, and not a site. So just a minor correction. It doesn't make sense in the Welsh version. The English version is correct. Thank you very much. Okay, so welcome to Sophie to introduce it to us.
Diolch, John.
Thank you.
I'm just going to share my screen so you can see my presentation. Okay, can you see the screen, the presentation? Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, okay. Right, okay, so this application is to extend the domestic curtilage and construct a domestic garage with workshop and storage area at Greenhill Bungalow off Copper Hill Street in Aberdyfi. The application site is within the conservation area. And as you can see here, the black area is the existing domestic curtilage of the property. It's fairly limited.
Sophie, can I just cut across for 1 second? Is it possible for you to put the PowerPoint presentation onto slideshow? Because the slides are fairly small on our screen.
Sorry, I can't hear you very well. Fairly small.
Is it possible to put the PowerPoint onto slideshow at all, just so they
if you go on slideshow at the top, there we are, and then from beginning, press from beginning, right on the left there. That's it. Should be okay.
There we go. Okay.
There we go. That's it. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. So is that better now? Yeah. Okay. So the domestic curtilage of the existing property is pretty limited. There's no existing vehicle parking, and access is via Copper Hill Street and then up the side of the residential development at Haven-Dyfi via a set of steps. So this application will provide a larger garden area and also provide an alternative means of access for users, as well as provide an area of off-street parking for the property. Okay, this is the site as it appears now. Here you can see the neighbouring residential development, and behind is Greenhill Bungalow and its existing curtilage. And this is the area of land in question. You can see that it's been largely cleared of vegetation. There is a small area of fencing remaining, and it's been reprofiled to some degree. If we go on to some more images, this is the image looking up the lane, which provides access from Copper Hill Street. And you can see the adjacent residential properties here, which are a higher level than the application site, and the adjacent garages at Haven-Dyfi are at a slightly lower level. And then this is a railway line, which just runs opposite the application site. And then here you can see, this is a view from Copper Hill Street, looking up the lane towards the application site, which is sited behind the garages here at Haven-Dyfi. And you can see on the image on the left, This is the access which goes to Greenhill Bungalow via the existing steps there. And this is a private parking area serving this residential development. So there's no parking there available for Greenhill Bungalow. Okay, these are historic images of the site, just to give you an idea of what it appeared like before, because on some of the objections we've had, a lot of them have raised issue how the site has been cleared of vegetation. So this was the garage previously, before the residential development was constructed on the adjacent sites. You can see there is a hedge boundary. And then when the neighbouring residential development was being constructed, you can see in the distance here, there's some scrub planting with the trees on the higher level behind. And if we go on to another image, you can see on the aerial image here, the large area of woodland, which is considered to contribute towards the character of the conservation area, extends down from the rear of Greenhill Bungalow and then down into the application site. Obviously, what you can't tell from this aerial image is what the quality of the vegetation was like down on this site at the bottom. And if we look at this later image, after the site had been cleared, you can see there was remnants of a concrete outbuilding, which was on the site previously. There's also an existing vehicle access. So there's an indication that the site was used previously to as access for vehicles, and there was some sort of either garage or storage facility on the site. Obviously, you know, that was it could have been abandoned, and it was completely overgrown prior to the applicant or previous owner clearing the site. And this plan just shows the layout of the existing site with this concrete structure, which has now been removed, and the vegetation which has been removed from below. Okay, so the proposal is to construct a garage on the lower part of the site. The garage is it's possible to fit 2 cars inside the garage. It'll be single story in height, with accommodation in the roof for storage. Obviously, we would impose a condition which would limit the use of the garage to be ancillary to the domestic dwelling to which it serves. You can see here it doesn't extend above the height of the ridge of the neighbouring property. It's set back from the position of the garages at Havant Dyfi, which you can see here. And then this is just another view showing the difference in levels of the site. So here's the adjacent property on the right-hand side of the image, and then you can see the land slopes down towards Havant Dyfi and the position of the garage there on the application site with the access behind. The land to the rear, there'll be steps built into the landscapes into the land to the rear to provide higher ground, and then to the domestic curtilage of Greenhill Bungalow. And there's also be a sloped path which would provide access for disabled users, or an alternative means of access for the neighbouring property as well. And this is the plan view of it here. So you can see you've got the garage adjacent to Havant Dyfi. You can see the parking and turning area, the access, and then the paths which travel from the lower area into the extended curtilage, which is this area behind Greenhill Bungalow, and then also provides access to the neighbouring property as well. Previously, the original application included a much larger area of curtilage, but we negotiated that this should be reduced because we wanted to minimise the potential impact and pressure to remove trees in the area outside within the domestic curtilage, and also to limit the domestic paraphernalia which might spill into those areas. Although it's part of the settlement boundary, and the extension of the curtilage is acceptable in principle, obviously we were mindful that we wanted to retain this area that is considered to contribute significantly towards the character and appearance of the conservation area in general. Okay, so in terms of the design of the actual building itself, it's considered acceptable. It is in character with and in keeping with the appearance of the adjacent buildings at Havant to be. There's no impact in terms of neighbouring amenity in terms of loss of light. The extension of the curtilage itself, it will improve amenity for Greenhill Bungalow. It will also improve amenity for the wider area in terms of taking reducing pressure for on-street parking, because it will provide an area of off-street parking for the occupants of Greenhill Bungalow itself. Obviously, the primary considerations which were raised in objection letters were about the clearance of the land. The Community Council also objected in terms of the land clearance, the design of the building itself, the potential impact on the amenity of neighbouring properties. There was also an ownership issue which was raised at the time of when the application was made. However, we've received documentation from the applicant to suggest that, from the land registry, to confirm that he is the owner. If there's a private civil dispute between landowners, then that can be addressed separately outside the planning application. But we've consulted with our legal team, and all the relevant requirements have been met in terms of the procedure order. The relevant notices have been displayed. There was also a further issue with the Community Council and neighbours raising the issue of mines in the area. This wasn't an issue for the neighbouring development. We've also consulted directly with NRW, Environmental Health, and the North Wales Minerals and Waste body directly in respect to this issue, and none of them have returned an objection in respect to that matter. So any direct issue on site would be at the owner's risk, but we can't see that there's any issue or risk for the wider area in respect to that. So let me just go back to the conclusion here. So yes, so in terms of the vegetation clearance, like I said, there's an objection from the neighbours in respect to this. Our heritage officers also raised it as a concern. However, what's worth noting is an application was submitted prior to this one, or in tandem with this one, to remove trees in the conservation area. That has been granted. And also several of the trees were of such a size where they didn't require consent. So now that the site has been cleared, this has either been approved or exempt from requiring consent. So what we're left with is a clear site. So this application actually offers an opportunity now to enhance that site through improved landscaping. So although landscaping is proposed as part of the scheme in terms of wildflower planting and hedging, we're suggesting the inclusion of an additional landscaping condition to enhance it further. So this application provides an opportunity to do that. We've also considered there'll be no adverse impact on the neighbouring properties, which I mentioned previously. So the recommendation is to grant the application subject to the relevant conditions in the report. Thank you.
So the recommendation is different, is it, to refuse permission for the reasons note? Permit. Permit. It says refuse on the screen on the Welsh version. No, those are two different. Those are different. So just to be clear, the PowerPoint is incorrect. The papers before the committee are correct. So the recommendation is to approve. Okay, so thank you very much for that, Sophie. Does anyone want to speak? So 2 hands up here. I'm going to propose the recommendation, and it's only going to improve the area. Thank you. Is there anybody else who wants to speak? So Ivor's hand is up. Ivor and Brian. Ivor was first. I'm happy to second the recommendation. Just want to confirm, I'm looking on the SUDS, Sophie. This comes under SUDS, I take it.
Yeah, they'll be required to submit a SUDS application. It does exceed 100 square meters in terms of the overall development. So yeah.
Fine, thank you. Thank you very much. Brian?
I wanted to inquire, I can't remember, I don't recall seeing anything to do with external lighting, but is it possible to condition any external lighting meets the Dark Skies supplementary guidance on lighting?
Apologies, I didn't hear that question.
Oh, sorry. The question was to do with external lighting, both on the path steps and the building. Is it possible to have that condition so that it meets dark sky recommendations?
Yeah, we are able to attach a condition with regards to lighting. I'm just double checking the conditions. I don't think we've added that condition. So yes, we're able to attach a relevant condition, yeah.
Fine, thank you much, Brian. Thank you, Sophie, for that. Is there anybody else who wants to speak? Is there a second to Edgar's proposal to... Yes, Ivor has done so. Ivor has already seconded it. Can I just ask Edgar, is he happy for Brian's suggestion to be included in the recommendation? Oh, yes, yes. So go to a vote. Everybody who's in favour of the proposal to permit, show, please. Okay. 12. That's carried. Anyone against? Okay, it's carried. Fine, thank you very much. So, reactions, okay. So we'll go on, therefore. So, Pennant, Mouthwee, Pennant, Can, Mouthwee. So, John, I'm going to put John in a waiting room, and me too. I'll put John now. Right. So John was gone to waiting room for the time being. John is in the waiting room. Fine, thank you very much. David, yes, to take us through this. Yes, I'm introducing this, presenting this. I'll just share my screen. This is the application number NP5744988, and it relates to variation of a condition and the deletion of a removal of condition 4 with the track attached planning grid NP5744788. And this is creating a track as attached to ensure access to the restoration of the peaks. So this was approved with conditions back in May 2022 in the planning committee. And condition number 2 of this application drew attention to reducing the width of the track from 3.2 meters to 1.6 meters, and condition 4 related to that they had to reduce it within the next 12 months following the planning application. The present planning application, therefore, relates to changing condition 4 to delete the condition or to reduce the track and get rid of condition 4, which would allow the track to remain for 3.2 meters wide. And this is the location of the track. You can see on the map it's located to the north of Mouthwee, and on the slopes to the slopes of Sanant. And it's a few pictures showing the location of the track a picture from a nearby road showing the track located on the side of this mountain here. And this drone picture of the track just showing the mountain and showing the track again. So the track was approved by a historical application and was completed in the summer of 2022. The track has been designed with a width of 3.2 meters at the moment for big machines to do work on the peatland. And assessing this application, the policies to be considered, therefore, are development policy 2 and strategic policy. Development policy 2 talks about the impact of development on the landscape, and as stated, the access track is located behind the most prominent slopes of Foel Clochydd and close to the it's close to a public road, and we can't easily be identified from the adjacent road between Llanymawddwy and Llanuwchllyn to Dinas Mawddwy. We don't consider going back to the mountain to do more engineering works to try to reduce the track. We don't believe this will have further negative impact visual on the landscape. And it won't, so reducing the width of the track. That is, you can see the track as it is with the width too. But the case to reduce any visual impact, the landowner has proposed to plant grass reeds over the track, try to promote growth, levitation on the track, and sow the seeds in the area, and also to reduce any visual impact of the track. So strategic policy highlights the importance of fighting against the challenge of climate change. Remember, the purpose of the track is to ensure that machines can do maintenance work on the mountain. So based on the context of strategic policy which ensures that any restoration work, important restoration work in the future can be done to future-proof the track. It's important that we support this application. And so, in conclusion, following completion of the track, the access track, it's evident that its impact was small, so reducing the track from 3.2 meter to 1.6 meter wouldn't have any significant impact on reducing its visibility of the track. The track has already been located behind the face of Foel Clochydd, which means it's very difficult to be seen from any public place, any public road, and so on. And finally, it's important to bear in mind the purpose of the track is to do maintenance work on the peatland restoration and fight against climate change. And keeping a 3.2 meter track would future-proof the track to enable access to do this important work. And therefore, on balance, the recommendation is to approve this application. Fine. Thank you very much, David. So we'll wait for the screen to come back. Or to the committee. There we are. Thank you very much. So does anyone want to speak? Ivor, yes, thank you very much. Just one general question to ask. We have the landowner is the applicant, and then the reasons It's an application from the Eryri National Park. So who is asking for this permission? It's presented by the park on behalf of the landowner. And as a result of that, since it has been mitigated, they need to get up to the mountain for these developments and to further restore the peatland and propose accepting. Thank you very much. Does anyone seconded? Edgar to speak? No, I was going to propose. I think it's important that this work continues, so I support the application recommendation. Fine. Does anybody else keen to speak? I can't see anybody, so we'll move on to a vote. Everybody in favour of permitting, will you show, please? Thank you very much. It's carried. Fine, thank you very much. Before we move on to the next item, I know we'll bring John back. Fine, thank you. John is back. Is fine. Thank you very much. So we'll go on then to the list of compliance cases. We're looking at page 61. Does anybody want to raise anything? 62.
Chairman, is it possible that I could just make a comment in relation to the beginning of the compliance case list? Conscious that members will note that we've stipulated that there was no new cases to report for this month. That basically the reason for this is due to the fact that the short turnaround between committees, between the April committee and May committee, and the deadlines involved. It's also the fact that there was a period of time that the people have been on leave and so forth. So it's not been possible to actually collate the cases, but I can assure you that the next committee that there will be plenty of new cases because we'll have caught up with the backlog on those. Thank you.
Fine, thank you very much. So we'll go on to page 62, 63. Sarah Hattle's hand is up. I'm not sure if you've seen her. Right, Sarah. That's an old hand, I take it. Fine, thank you. 63. 64. 65. 66. There's a hand up from Edgar wants to speak. I have a community council next week. They're asking, always asking what's going on. So there's 21. Which number are you? On page 65, 19. Betos Garmon, it looks untidy. It's been going on for years. It's time for something to be done on this. We can't, I don't see any movement. Is there an explanation? So as an agent, nothing seems to be happening at all. So no further update for this committee is what it says. Yes, but it's been like going on for 10 years. So next meeting, please.
Just the next committee will provide you with an update. It's David that's been handling that case. So we'll make sure that we'll provide that soon.
There was progress at one point. We were in dialogue with the owner and agent on it, but it's gone quiet, unfortunately, recently. So
fine, thank you very much. All right, Edgar. Yes, fine, thank you. Page 66. 67. Dilwyn has his hand up. Dilwyn, right. Thank you, Chair. Number 32 to start with, Chys Megdig in Penmachno. The officers are aware of here, and it says here that the truces have been access gate had been reduced in line with the request. And as the officers know, the owner at that time agreed that there'd be only access put oil in the tank. Well, I was in the community council last week, and now there is one of the motorhome caravans has gone inside that date. So just we need to write about this. Then on number 29, can I say that I'm very pleased to see that Section 5 is being drafted at the moment, and I'm sure that will be useful in the future. Thank you, Chair. Fine, thank you very much for that. Page 68, 69, 70. Anwen has her hand up. Fine, thank you. Number 46. There is quite a few people in the area. And what's happening there? So still working there, and it's very ugly. So I know the site visit has taken place, and the matter is there any update? Continue still carrying on to work there? Change of translator.
Alice is the case officer on this.
Alice.
I can provide you with an update. But I know that she's in discussion with the agents because it appears that there is a discrepancy with the height, and I understand that potentially a further site visit will be carried out so we can determine whether it's the case that just in terms of the site levels, but looking at the levels that there is a discrepancy there. So she is in discussion with the agent. And my understanding is a further site visit will be taking place in due course, but it is definitely ongoing.
Can you hear me now? Apologies. Yes. Just to add to what Jane said, I've spoken to them this morning, and we're going to arrange a site visit with the agents to discuss things further. So things are still in the discussion stage now. Okay, then, thank you. Page 70, 71. Can I just ask in relation to 52, 13 Garreg Gvrech, a letter has been sent to the owner, awaiting a response. Have you had the response yet? Probably not. What's the situation at the moment?
Oh yeah, sorry. Na, does na ddim atab 'di cael ei derbyn.
No, we haven't received the response as yet, so we don't have any further update on that at present. Page 72, 73, 74, and 75. 76, 77, 78, and 79. Anwen has her hand up. Thank you. Number 70 on page 79, Maes y Neuadd Hotel. This has been ongoing for quite a while now. Has an application been submitted yet? Yes, we're still awaiting an application. Eleanor has been talking to them about the application. We're likely to receive an application pretty soon. there is concern regarding what's going on and what use is going to be made of the main hotel.
Mae Eleanor wedi bod i'r safle hefyd.
Like I said, Eleanor has visited the site, so we have a pretty good idea what's going on there. Okay, thank you. That's it. On to section 106 agreements for information. Page 81. Edgar. In relation to number 2, is that drawing to a close now because that's been ongoing for a while?
That's the permission has been issued this week, Monday, I think it was. It's gone through now, yes. They've signed up to section 106 and provided the first instalment of the community sum.
Thank you. Right, yeah. Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Isiadau sy'n destyn cytundeb am 306 sydd wedi cwblhau eto Merthyr Isel.
Outstanding applications. Any questions relating to those 106 agreements? And outstanding applications where more than 13 weeks have elapsed. On page 84, in discussion with agent as well. Page 85. Anwen's hand is up. Fourth one down, Gwern Caedu Harlech. What's the update on that one, please? The applicant has asked me to inquire whether or not the agent has been in touch. We're awaiting more information from the agent and we're holding a site visit with the applicant. Can I just ask about Nantir Dyffryn ar Dydwy? Open house, open market conversion.
My understanding from the case officer in relation to that one is that we're waiting for information from the agent in relation to section 106 details. I understand the letter just has recently been sent out in relation to that. So it's in relation, we're waiting for details in relation to the 106.
He doesn't want the 106, does he? So will there be a commuted sum payment there? Yes, there will. That's what the 106 agreement will refer to. Okay, thank you very much. Can I just come back, please? Also, what's happening to the former Tabernacle Chapel? Some are saying that the application has been approved and the work's being done. It looks really untidy now. And the people on the high street in Harlech are saying that it looks untidy. Fferm Caedu is included in the agenda, the former Tabernacle Chapel. What's happening with that?
The case officer is still in discussion with the applicant and agent in respect to that application. It hasn't been approved as such yet. It's still ongoing. Deliberations are still taking place. But I'll hopefully be able to provide with more of an update with the next committee.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else in relation to page 85? Yes, Tir yn Mas y Fallen, Rhos y Gwalia. What are we waiting for with the 2 pods there? With that application, we're waiting for a plan. Okay, thank you. Page 86 and 87. On to permitted applications for information, page 89, 90 and 91. On to page 92, applications refused for information, 93 and 94. And the appeal decision is the last item there. Unless anybody has any questions, that's it. Thank you very much. Committee concluded? Yes, we're bringing the meeting to a close. Thank you very much.